Welcome to the Movie Guide. I am Brendan Dando of the Four Finger Discount Network, joined right now by Guy Davis.
Hey there, Dando.
And the dirty Leonard Maltin. How are you, Leonard?
Feeling cleaner than usual. In comparison, of course.
We're here, of course, to discuss Dirty Harry, as you may have told from the title of this podcast. Guy, why have we chosen Dirty Harry?
Because it's timeless. Look, there are multiple reasons, and one of them has to do with my girlfriend, the lovely Louise, who recently threw an idea my way that I'm happy to steal. She's looking at the current state of the world and how confusing and turbulent it is, and how we sort of look to movies to
escape?
Yeah, well, to escape, but also to understand the world around us. And we came up with this idea called Now More Than Ever, which is essentially, you look at a movie that took place maybe 50-something years ago, and how is it relevant to today? And, is it? And it turns out that, a movie like Dirty Harry that has a rogue renegade cop sort of running roughshod over civil rights and civil liberties in pursuit of, justice or the right thing, pretty relevant in 2025, 2026. Plus, also, there's a new biography of the movie star Clint Eastwood out by Sean Levy called Clint, the Man in His Movies. Pretty good read. But Dirty Harry is just, a movie that plays as well today as it did in 1971. That's my thought on it, at least. Leonard, you actually recommended this movie. Tell us why.
Well, I liked it when it was new, and I like it now. I haven't seen it in between time. There have been 4 sequels, 4 follow-up movies with Clint Eastwood as Dirty Harry Callahan, maverick or rogue cop in the San Francisco Police Department. And what I like about it is he's not dirty because he's on the take. Nothing like that. He's dirty because he's willing to do the dirty work. He's willing to do whatever it takes to solve a crime, prevent a crime, help someone in need. He's not rescuing cats from trees the way our firemen are reputed to do, but he's doing just about everything else that he's called upon to do. But he has a very strict moral code.
Yeah.
And he's unwilling to compromise that. And that's what puts him in the crosshairs, no pun intended, of a serial killer, of a psychopathic serial killer, if that's not redundant, played really well by Andy Robinson, who had a tough time getting any other kind of work after this very successful movie. I came to know him a little bit in later years. He directed a really fine production of Death of a Salesman locally here in Los Angeles. And I chatted with him quite a bit. He turned to teaching acting. I think he had a more satisfying career as an acting teacher than he had as a working actor who was suffering from typecasting. But anyway, he sure is good in this movie because you buy it, you believe him. And the character goes to extremes, and not just in terms of murdering unsuspecting people, but the way he lives his life.
Absolutely. We're going to talk a bit more about Clint and Dirty Harry in a little while, but I do want to focus for the moment on the character of Scorpio and Andy Robinson's portrayal of him. This is one of the all-time Hall of Fame great screen psychos. Mm-hmm. This is just a remarkable performance, and mainly because it's just so genuinely unhinged. It feels like the makers of the film just found someone walking up and down the streets of San Francisco muttering to themselves and just thought, we can use this guy. We can use this for good. It's unpredictable. It's terrifying in a lot of ways in ways that a lot of screen villains are not. I think when you have a high profile actor sort of playing a villain, I think they will always sort of reveal like, I'm not really like this,
Yeah.
You'll always get the indication that I'm putting on an act.
It's make believe.
Yeah, as good as the acting is, with this, I would be genuinely terrified if I ran into Andrew Robinson on the street because he is just so strange and so merciless, and it feels like there's genuinely something wrong with him. The thing I was thinking of when I rewatched this last night, there were 2 great villain performances in The Silence of the Lambs. Of course, you got Anthony Hopkins. It's a very smooth, elegant, very theatrical performance. It's threatening. It's kind of chilling, but it's not the kind of thing that sort of keeps you up at night or makes you look under the bed. It's like, oh, Hannibal Lecter's going to get me. It does in some ways, but it's more sort of a friendly villainous performance, if you know what I mean. But then you got Ted Levine as Buffalo Bill, as James Gumb. That's real reptile brain scary. It's kind of like, again, if you saw that person on the street, you would cross to the other side.
If you've ever seen Robert Mitchum in Cape Fear from the early 60s, that's to me one of the scariest characters ever portrayed in film because of what you just said. You believe this guy, you believe that he could be hanging around your front yard.
Yeah.
You know, he could invade your house when you're not paying attention. It's very tangible.
And also takes a real joy in the harm that they're inflicting.
Well, yes.
On others.
Yes.
And the thing about Scorpio is I hadn't really twigged to this until I rewatched it. I mean, I suppose it was always in the back of my mind, but he's a coward. He's preying on women, children, and people who are in no position to resist him. You know, the only people that he kills in this movie are women. He threatens children. The only time he beats up Harry is when he's got the upper hand on Harry because Harry can't fight back because he's trying to find this girl who's been adopted. He breaks a liquor bottle over the head of the old guy at the bottle shop. He's a coward. And every time he's sort of confronted with any force that's greater than him, he whimpers, he cowers, he squeals. I mean, one of the most unsettling things in Dirty Harry is when he gets the switchblade in the leg and he just makes this unearthly kind of sound, this squeal, like an animal that's been...
Exactly like an animal that's been attacked, yes.
You think Clint Eastwood when you think Dirty Harry, but honestly, I think a very large proportion of what makes Dirty Harry work is... and Robinson's performance as Scorpio. It's so unsettling. And it's someone that you really want to get taken off the board by any means necessary.
Right. And Clint Eastwood's character, well, Clint is the only one who has good hair.
True.
In this movie. Everyone else seems to be follically challenged in some form or another. But he looks super cool.
True.
This is him at the peak of his virility. And just, he's the walking definition of cool. And now some people didn't like this film because they thought it was reactionary. Even seeing the word fascistic applied to it. I disagree. This is about a guy who, as I say, follows his own moral code. It's some people would consider it reactionary. It's certainly not fashionable to take the stance that he does. But it's understandable. It's completely relatable and understandable. Less understandable in some of the follow-ups, some of the 4 follow-up films, where even for Harry Callahan, he goes overboard. Mm-hmm. But I think here he is responding to the situation he's facing from sequence to sequence. And this film is framed by one of his most, I don't like to use the word iconic, one of his most famous speeches. He's not a man of many words, famously, but the words he utters here to a slain bank robber, a failed bank robber in the street, and then at the end of the movie, I shouldn't say more than that, not to give spoilers away on a 60-year-old movie, but it's Clint at his Clintest.
It is. I mean, those two scenes that sort of echo one another, they're really interesting in terms of Clint's almost, at the first one, in the first instance, Harry's almost like a cat playing with a mouse. One thing I find really interesting about his Eastwood's performance as Harry Callahan is like he kind of revels in his power a bit. He's always got a bit of a sly smile on his face, whether he's sort of talking back to the mayor or he's pointing a gun at a bank robber and sort of saying, if I got an extra bullet in my gun, you don't know, do you? Then by the end, when he's doing the same with his main villain, there's real fury and there's real sort of disgust behind it.
Yeah.
Eastwood gets, a lot of people regard him as maybe one note. I think that, he's got a very specific set of skills, to quote another action hero. But if it's deployed in the right way, that kind of taciturn, terse nature that he has can be really well used. And it's really well used in this, but it can be also used interestingly in other ways.
Here he's working with Don Siegel, with whom he collaborated on a number of films.
Yeah.
And Don Siegel was an old school Hollywood craftsman. He knew what he was doing. He knew how to use the camera. He knew how to make the most of the San Francisco locations. Though you never see a hint of fog, they must have been incredibly lucky in their timing of all those shots on rooftops around the city, and shot certainly at the right time of day. But you not only get the topography of San Francisco and the geography of San Francisco, but you're inside the Hall of Justice, City Hall. It's a really ideal use of a city, not just as a backdrop, but as a character in the fabric of the story.
Yeah.
It's not incidental that it's in San Francisco.
Yeah, it doesn't present as a city of great beauty, but it does present it as a city of great personality. I mean, it's a cliche to say, the city's a character in this movie, but it is in a lot of ways.
Yeah. There's a piece of paper that I had in my hands in 1970 or 71 when I was a student journalist at New York University working on our daily newspaper, and I was the entertainment editor by 1970. It was a press release from Warner Brothers announcing the impending production of a film called Dirty Harry to star Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
This has been printed many, many times. It's not a secret. But I had the actual press release and didn't keep it somehow.
Oh, man.
Oh, drat. Drat.
Would have been a very different movie with Sinatra. Interesting, though, because, I mean, we talked about sort of Clint being at the height of his virility. He was 41 when he made this, which is not young, but, Sinatra would have been in his 50s. And it would have been casting a man of that age and of Sinatra's kind of persona, because he was he came across as pretty conservative in a lot of ways.
But he played detectives more than once late in his career, except here Clint Eastwood has to be very physical. There's a lot of physical demands on him.
That's correct.
In this role. And you can believe that he is doing all his own stunts.
Yeah.
And some of them are minor stunts. Some of them are more formidable.
Mm. With Sinatra, though, you can imagine he would play Harry as someone pushing against the changing nature of the time. This is 1971. American society is in great upheaval. Whole manner of different worldviews are sort of bumping up against one another. And you get the feeling, I don't know, there'd be an undertone of like conservatism versus progression. Eastwood doesn't play it quite as much, but the fact that he's a younger man gives it an interesting kind of feel. He is a younger man, but he also, the way he dresses, the way he carries himself is kind of like a man from a different time, or a man of the past, trying to deal with an uncertain. It's almost like No Country for Old Men in some ways. The last scene of No Country for Old Men, where Tommy Lee Jones is talking about that basically this is no country for old men anymore, that his time has kind of passed. I don't know. Yeah, I find that pretty interesting. I want to talk a bit about Don Siegel as well, just quickly. I mean, not a flashy filmmaker by any stretch, but one whose every sort of choice just moves the story forward in an interesting and compelling way.
He's not a flashy director.
No.
He's not showing off. He had done another film in San Francisco called The Lineup in the late 50s, so he knew the city well. And he and Clint were great partners. And Clint always credited Don Siegel with being his mentor. And there's a scene early in the movie where there's an incidental shot of a marquee, and on the marquee it says, "Play Misty for Me," which was Clint Eastwood's first film as a director. That happened in part because of the mentorship of Don Siegel.
Yeah, Siegel has a bit part in Play Misty for Me as well. I'd never noticed that until last night. And I think Unforgiven, which is probably Eastwood's masterpiece, that's dedicated, co-dedicated to Sergio Leone and Don Siegel. So, yeah, I mean, Eastwood clearly had a bunch of respect for this guy. Yeah, it's interesting, though. I mean, we talked about Sinatra. I mean, there are a few other people in the running for the role of Harry. I think Paul Newman was actually the first person they wanted to cast. He thought it was too right-wing and it just didn't sort of jibe with his sensibilities, but he thought that Eastwood would probably be a really good choice for it. I don't know. I think we ended up well casting Eastwood. I mean, it became one of his most... there are two signature roles that I think he has. He's got the Man with No Name from the Leone spaghetti westerns and Dirty Harry. Play him across 5 movies with diminishing returns, I've got to say. I mean, they all sort of get lesser and lesser as they go.
Yeah, and Don Siegel did not return for any of those sequels. Wisely, I think. He had done the movie. He did it well. He had no reason to take it on again.
Yeah.
Whereas Clint was at home in this character. And other screenwriters, other directors took it on. But Clint, it was like putting on a familiar jacket, something he was relaxed doing. None of those sequels are nearly as good as this film.
I'm going to disagree with you slightly because I think the follow-up, Magnum Force, I think is really, really interesting and very well made. Incredibly lurid and violent, I've got to say, a lot more than I was expecting. But given that this movie sort of faced criticisms of being quote-unquote fascist, I mean, Roger Ebert and Pauline Kael both used that term in their reviews. I think Magnum Force comes as a bit of a response to that, or because it pits Harry against literal fascists in the form of this actual death squad of San Francisco cops who are using extra legal procedures. They're just being vigilantes and going out and killing criminals. And Harry is the one who has to go up against them because, as you said, he's got his moral code. He may bump up against law, but he believes in it still.
Yeah, he believes in it fully, but only as he sees it.
That's true. I mean, it's really interesting in the original Dirty Harry. I mean, I think his partner's wife asked him why he's still a cop, and he says, "I don't know. I really don't know." And I found that fascinating, actually, because, you tend to think, being a cop is Dirty Harry's identity. That's his raison d'etre. That's his reason for being. The fact that he has, I don't know, misgivings about it or confusion about it adds another layer of complexity to the story. Then you've got the scene at the very end after, well, we won't spoil the very ending, but I mean, Harry throws away his badge. Eastwood initially didn't like that. He thought, people are going to think I've quit the force. Siegel thought, no, this is an indication that he's disenchanted with the system. No, this movie's a real Rorschach test in a lot of ways. I mean, you can read so much into it.
Well, yes. Well, not since Gary Cooper threw down his badge at the end of High Noon had we seen a hero, quote unquote, take such action.
Yeah. No, the movie doesn't really seem to be condemning or condoning the way Harry does business. I mean, I think Eastwood was like, "Oh no, we're all for this," and Siegel's more like, "We're just making a crime drama here, man."
Yeah. And it's got a very good cast around him. Rennie Santoni as his young partner, Harry Gardino as his immediate boss, John Larch as the chief of police, John Vernon, who was a little theatrical, shall we say, as the mayor. True. And all familiar faces to moviegoers of that time.
The opening credits have got a 70s flourish that I really like. John Vernon, who I think had been, pretty well-regarded character, he'd been in a few things, had a profile at this stage, but, he gets the "and" credit, But it's like John Vernon and they got the mayor in quote marks. Like, why do we need those? But it seemed to happen all the time in the 70s.
Yeah. And then there's that music score by Lalo Schifrin.
Incredible.
Who is best remembered, of course, for his original theme for Mission Impossible, the TV series, which has been replayed, rebooted, reinterpreted by Danny Elfman and others for the films. It's very much a score of that era, of that time. It kind of identifies the movie as an early 70s product.
I think if you heard that score by itself, you would not necessarily attach it to a gritty crime drama. Parts of it certainly, but there are other parts of it like, this is very funky 70s kind of stuff, absolutely.
Yeah.
Leonard, the National Film Registry deemed Dirty Harry culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant. I wonder if you agree with that and why you think that might be the case.
Well, I can tell you, I was on the board of the National Film Registry, and I voted for it.
Hey! Did you have to show your work? Did you have to explain why?
No. It's a film, and my fellow board members agreed, obviously.
It's a movie that doesn't really get lumped in with the classics of the 1970s when, you sort of talk about either bona fide masterpieces like the Godfather movies.
Jaws.
Yeah, or, movies that are very much of new Hollywood, like, say, Scorsese's Taxi Driver.
Right.
People might tend to regard it as like, it's a cop programmer. But it's made with real craft and it's got real ideas in it. But because, it's a Clint Eastwood cop movie, people might tend to sell it a little bit short.
I think so. Well, I don't think the politics are what you take away from the movie. Harry Callahan is an individual with his own, he marches to his own drummer.
Mm-hmm.
He's on the San Francisco Police Department roster, but only on his terms.
Well, therein lies the conflict, because he's got to operate within a system that has rules, but those rules are often counterproductive to getting the job done.
That's right.
Yeah, it gets you talking, it gets you thinking in that regard. I think I probably knew about the connection to the San Francisco killer, known as the Zodiac killer, and the connection between that and Dirty Harry. Scorpio is clearly a stand-in for the Zodiac killer, but I didn't realize until recently just how obvious it was. I mean, watching David Fincher's film Zodiac, which is a really sort of forensic kind of procedural about that case.
Right, and a brilliant film.
That shows a lot of the letters that were sent to the police department and the San Francisco newspapers. And the first letter that Zodiac sends to the mayor's office is actually in the Zodiac killer's handwriting. It's like, oh, okay, well, you guys are really, paying tribute here or drawing inspiration. Yeah, I found that kind of wild. Let's talk a bit about potential double features. I was initially going to go with Magnum Force. I think the two sort of work together I think they're complementary, but also different enough that they, provide sort of compare and contrast on similar topics. I think Magnum Force is actually really well made. It's directed by a guy named Ted Post, but I get the feeling that he was probably a bit of a ghost director, and Clint had a lot of say behind the scenes.
Well, Ted Post directed his first post-Leone film, Hang 'em High.
Yeah.
And that was his transitional film after being an international star in these spaghetti westerns, to bringing it back to America. And Ted Post was a very prolific director, a lot of television, a lot of film television, and a fair number of feature films as well.
But then another one I was thinking of, there's a movie that's sort of gone under the radar, unfortunately. I remember really enjoying it as a young man, and then later in life revisiting it and thinking it was great. It's a movie from 1984 called The Star Chamber. I think when I first heard about it as a kid, I thought, ooh, sci-fi. And it turns out to be another sort of exploration of extra-legal vigilante justice. It's got Michael Douglas as this judge who, again, is finding his hands tied by the legal system. People, criminals are getting off on technicalities and things like that, and he discovers that there's this secret group of his peers and superiors who are basically reviewing cases where justice has not been served and then doling out justice of their own.
Yeah.
I think it's really well made. It's written and directed by a guy named Peter Hyams, who did fantastic films like Capricorn 1 and Busting. And he's a really solid director. And The Star Chamber is just one that I think works really well and explores a lot of these issues in a similar fashion. I
think a really neat double bill would be to put this with High Noon.
Oh, yeah.
From 1952, with Gary Cooper as a lawman who has to make a moral and ethical choice, a very difficult moral and ethical choice. And it was filmed in real time because of constant cutaways to the grandfather clock in the hotel in town. And Grace Kelly is his bride-to-be. And there are a lot of Lloyd Bridges is in it, Lon Chaney Jr., a young Jack Elam, a young Lee Van Cleef, speaking of spaghetti westerns. And it's a film that has stood up to a test of time. And I think it would be interesting to compare it to Dirty Harry.
Absolutely. I mean, and there's less than 2 decades between them, but yeah, they do feel like night and day in a lot of ways, but also very similar in a lot of ways. Yeah, see, this is why you're Leonard Maltin. You're coming up with these fantastic double features.
Leonard, do you have any stories of interviewing Clint or just meeting him at an event of some kind? Or
I've been lucky enough to spend a fair amount of time talking to him on camera. And I hosted a full evening with him at the Santa Barbara Film Festival, where we showed clips and I interviewed him about his career. And the best part, it's held this annual event called the Modern Master Award, which is now called the Maltin Modern Master Award.
And justifiably so.
Well, it's very flattering and it's very nice of them. is held in a 2,000-seat theater called the Arlington on State Street, the main street of Santa Barbara. And there are always a cluster of fans outside waiting for the arrival of George Clooney or Brad Pitt or Kate Blanchett or Will
Maltin.
Smith or whoever it is that particular year. And the limousine that was dropping off Clint for the event didn't really understand where to go. And so Mr. Eastwood obviously got tired of being driven around in a circle. So he got out of his car and walked up the block, strode up the block to the stanchion, the metal stanchions that were in place to keep the crowd back a little bit. So they didn't see him coming because he was coming behind them. And he parted his way through them and lifted his very long leg over the railing. And that's how he made his entrance to that event. It was memorable for those of us who saw it.
What's he like as an interviewee? Is he open?
He's open, but he's reluctant. He's not a man of many words. He'd rather be playing golf. Almost literally, he'd rather be playing golf. I tried to get him on my podcast, and he said, how long is it? I said, an hour. He said, an hour? I could be shooting in the back nine.
Well, get him on the movie guide with Maltin Davis. We'll be over in half an hour.
He comes across like somebody who wouldn't like to be praised.
Well, he has a healthy ego. I don't say an outsized ego. He has a healthy ego. But he is known for running a very efficient set. They're under budget, under schedule, and he doesn't say cut or action. I've asked several actors about this. And in fact, Matt Damon and Morgan Freeman were being interviewed. I was interviewing them together for that film about South Africa.
Invictus, yeah.
Invictus. And Matt said something like, he says, well, I guess we could get started or something like that. Anytime you guys feel, go ahead. I mean, that's kind of relaxed demeanor that he adopts for his sets. No wonder actors like working with him. He's also loyal. He's also very loyal. He's loyal to people that are loyal to him in return. And he worked with the same cameraman, the same art director, the same composer for a long, long time. And that says something about him, too.
You see in his performances, he seems capable of great wit, great sensitivity. He seems like a real artist, like a genuine artist, but sort of, wrapped up in the persona of this, tight, terse, tough guy.
Right, but very unpretentious.
Yeah.
Very unpretentious.
What do you see as his legacy?
Well, he has more than one, doesn't he?
Yeah.
His legacy as an actor, and that legacy embraces The Man with No Name, Rowdy Yates on Rawhide, and Dirty Harry, and beyond. But those are milestones. And then he has the legacy as a filmmaker, as a director, who took on unusual and often challenging subject matter. Flags of Our Father and Letters from Iwo Jima in a foreign language. His longtime editor, Joel Cox, said, Clint, how can I edit a film that I don't understand? He says, you know the script. You'll understand. You'll see from their faces and their delivery of the dialogue. So he cut a film not in English.
But he also strikes me as someone who, helped reconfigure or at least, recalibrate a lot of traditional American genre. I mean, he took the Western from the way it was with John Wayne and Jimmy Stewart and people like that into a new era with those spaghetti Westerns, and then the Westerns he did himself, and then with Unforgiven even, decades after that. Likewise with the cop movie. I mean, I get the feeling the sort of 1-2 punch of The French Connection and Dirty Harry really changed the tone and direction of cop movies. I mean, there were hard-bitten, hard-boiled American cop dramas prior to those, but it felt like those two movies really shifted it into another gear. It's interesting that he's, he's one of the driving forces of those.
He is, absolutely. I mean, he leaves a big footprint.
Absolutely.
All right, well, we hope you enjoyed our review here of Dirty Harry. Don't forget, guys, you can get early and ad-free access to this show by supporting us on Patreon for as little as just $2 per month. Link for that is in the description of this podcast. We'd love to hear your thoughts on Dirty Harry, whether it's via email, themovieguidepodcast@gmail.com, or comment below and tell us your thoughts on the film as well. Your thoughts on Clint Eastwood and all in between. Now, you said there's a biography that's out just recently, Guy?
There is Clint, the Man and His Movies by Sean Levy.
Yes, so make sure you check out that. Also, there's another book that you should be getting on your shelf. Leonard, go away. Take it away. What's your latest book? There it is. We can see it.
Right here. It's called Every Movie is a Miracle. It is available online, wherever you buy books online. And it's a long, long conversation between me and another veteran film writer and aficionado named Nat Segaloff. We've known each other over 40 years. And it's me spinning stories of interesting people I've met, interesting experiences I've had.
Fantastic.
So if you want to purchase that, we'll chuck the link for that in the description of this podcast as well. But don't forget, guys, as I said, the Movie Guide Podcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from all of you out there listening or watching out there in podcast world. We're going to be doing a mailbag episode in a couple of weeks. So send through your questions, the Movie Guide Podcast@gmail.com. This has been our review of Dirty Harry. Guy, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Dando.
Thank you, the Leonard Maltin.
Thank you, sir.
And we will catch you all in the next episode of the Movie Guide with Maltin and Davis.